Number two, you have to add in racism, white delusion, aka white supremacy, as they say, in this country. You have to factor that in as well. That is another aspect of the faulty, crumbling foundation that this country was built on. It was built on the genocide of indigenous peoples here. It was built on racism and enslavement of Africans, Black people, to create an economy that is built on literally blood and forced labor. Okay? And the thing about white supremacy in this country and in this world, because it's infected the whole entire planet, let's be clear about that. But the thing about the white delusion, white supremacy, is that until this country faces the truth of white supremacy, the history of white supremacy, and most importantly, atones for that, what we're witnessing is going to be an inevitability. The fall of the country is going to be an inevitability. White supremacy is a cancer that runs through the veins of this country, and it is ruining this country from the inside out. These Trump supporters, they knew that electing Trump was not going to be good for any of us. They knew that, but it was a calculated gamble that they took because they were most invested in white supremacy. You know, a lot of people say, oh, these Trump supporters are so dumb. They're so uninformed. And yeah, sure, there's some people who are uninformed. There are some people who are, they're not with it, cognitively. Sure, those people exist. And, there's so many people that say, oh, Republicans and Trump supporters, they always vote against their interests. No, they don't. What you don't realize is their top number one priority is maintaining and upholding the system of white supremacy. That is their number one priority over everything. And so because of that, they're willing to throw everything else away, including the whole entire country. Have you ever heard of the concept of drained pool politics? For those who haven't heard of drained pool politics, it's what happened in the South after the civil rights movement, when desegregation happened, when they were forced to desegregate in the South. You know what white people did? Rather than sharing their pools with Black people and non-white people because they were forced to legally after desegregation, they decided to drain the pools and fill them in with cement. They would rather have no pools at all than to share them with Black people. This is the mentality of the parents and grandparents and great-grandparents of today's current Trump supporters. This is the mentality. They were willing to drain the pools just so they wouldn't have to share it. People talk about, why can't we ever get universal health care in this country? It's because they don't want non-white people to have access to universal health care. They would rather suffer with high-ass insurance premiums, high-ass emergency room bills, high-ass ambulance ride bills, high-ass prescription drug prices. They would rather deal with that than to have universal health care, knowing that Black people, non-white people, and oh, God forbid, the undocumented immigrants have access to that as well. That's why. Everybody says, why can't we be like Sweden and all those Norwegian countries, the Scandinavian countries that have universal health care? They have this excellent quality of living. Do you know what else they have? Homogenous societies. All white societies, y'all. That's why they're willing to do that. They're willing to take care of their people because all their people is white. But you're starting to see the tides turn. Why? Because of immigration. You're starting to see the tides turn in all of those countries. Because once again, white supremacy, white delusion keeps white people from serving the community, serving the society, if the society has Black and brown folks in it. And so that's what we're witnessing, folks. That's what we're witnessing in this country. And so that's why these Trump supporters were willing to sacrifice their precious eggs. Now eggs are what, $8, $9 a dozen? That's insane when you think about it. That's why they were willing to sacrifice healthcare. That's why they're willing to sacrifice their jobs, even though now some of them are like, oh, damn, I didn't realize I was going to be a target. That's why they're willing to sacrifice the economy. Trump is going to send us into the toilet with this economy. And that's why they're willing to sacrifice all of that. Why? Because their number one top priority is upholding white supremacy. They are terrified to give up the benefits that white people get in a white supremacist society. And so they're willing to throw it all to hell. And that's what we're witnessing here, folks. So my Black brothers and sisters, when I tell you to stay home, stay out of it, it's partly because this, where we are today, we will never escape this until these white people deal with white supremacy and atone for the racism and the genocide that they built this country on.